let us see Virginia Woolf writes about a room of one's home. Okay? Then we know, okay, another feminist, Betty Friedan, okay, who has written The Feminine Mystic. Then we know that L.A. Showalter, okay, he has written towards, she has written a book. That book is, towards the feminist poetics, where she defines, first comes, feminine, then feminist, then female, all these things. I am not going to all that. Then, what happened? I'm sorry. Later feminists, what happened? The radical ones, they were mostly influenced by the French thinkers. Okay? French thinkers, and what they used to do is that they thought of the role of gender in the society. They tried to identify themselves with their own difference. And then what they have that they try to argue that women are not well represented in literature by male writings. Okay? Women should be represented in literature from women's perspective, not from the man's perspective. Because what was established, what was going on is women were represented in literature from male perspectives. Okay? Women were being represented as angels, and then often degraded characters, prostitutes, etc., etc. So they actually, went against that, and they said, no, men cannot represent us. We have the right. We have to represent ourselves. That's why the later feminists, they give stress on their difference, okay, of their own identity, of their own gender identity. And it's also called, you can also say, it is also called gyno-criticism. Okay? And it is also a discipline. Anyway. So now, I would go to Islam, that how Islam gives or treats women. What type of status Islam gives to women? As I said already before, that in the late 17th century, women only could realize that they are not given their due status. So, it was through Mary Wollstonecraft's book, A Vindication for the Rights of Women, published in 1972, as I said before. They started for their rights, equal rights in the society. Firstly, they sought for political rights. Then came, economic rights, etc., etc. But let me try to make a point here. Women are seeking for economic rights. Let me go back to the Holy Quran, because as I said, that my arguments will be on the basis of the Quran and Hadith only. The Quran gives women a very honorable and dignified status. Women have no economic responsibility. The responsibility comes upon the man. And then one cannot say that, women are being put aside, women are being subordinate and all. Women are not at all subordinate in this regard. I would rather say that what the Quran says. The Quran says men and women are same. Let me quote from the Holy Quran in, part 4, verse number 1. It's been said, O mankind, be careful to your duty to your Lord, who has created you from a single soul, and from it created its mate of the same kind. Now, there is an established misconception that men are superior and women are inferior. Okay. What the Quran says? Quran says there is no question of superiority and inferiority. Men are not superior, rather equals. Men and women are of same kind. They are equals. Okay. Then, regarding marriage, because there is a misconception about Muslim men marrying four times. Muslim men having 4 women. This is the misconception. This is the misconception is there. What the Quran says, let's say. And then I would rather try to argue and I would rather try to point out from the works of Taslima Nasrin, because with this author I have worked mainly, and I will try to focus on her. Mainly from her texts. Particularly, from her texts only. Islam says, I would rather go back in the pre-Islamic era. There was no limit of man's marriage. Men could do whatever they like. Women were treated as an useless object, worthless object, was an object of man's lust. Okay, the Quran has uplifted women, uplifted the status of women, and through marriage, Islam restricts man for polygamy. Earlier people used to marry several times, many times, 100 times, 10 times, 50 times. So Islam puts a restriction, because in the pre-Islamic Arabia, people had many wives, and then whomever, they could marry, whomever they could, divorce, talaq, whatever it is. So they could do it. There was no limit. So Islam puts a restriction on polygamy. And then we know that there is a misconception among the people, and I would rather say that the feminists take advantage of it. Rather, they are not very informed. Due to their lack of knowledge about Islam, due to their misunderstanding of Islam and its holy book. Let us see what the Quran says. And if you fear that you will not deal fairly, if you fear you will not deal fairly towards the orphans, marry of the women who seem good to you 2 or 3 or 4. Okay, here the question of 4 comes. Hence now people take this opportunity that, a Muslim can have 4 wives. Why not we understand the deeper meaning? Why don't we go to the next words? What are the next words? Let me go to the next words. Many of the women who seem good to you 2 or 3 or 4. And if you fear that you cannot do justice to so many, and Allah says you cannot do justice. A man has limitations. He cannot do justice to 3 or 4. So a man cannot do justice to so many, more than one. That's why what the Quran says, that, and if you fear that you cannot do justice to so many, and you cannot, then marry only one. What is the final part of the Quran? That marry only one. And there is a misunderstanding. There is a misunderstanding among the people that a Muslim man can have 4 wives. And I am really sorry to say that people, I met so many people, my colleagues and other people, they ask that, how many wives you have? Because Muslims can have 4 wives. I say, you see the statistics. What the statistics say? How many Muslim men will you find who is having 4 wives in his house? And another thing I would rather say, maybe it will sound a little bit vulgar, but for the sake of my argument, I have to say that Quran gives an option. It says marry only one. And these 2 or 3 or 4, this is the option to restrict people from the wrong path. What we are seeing, extramarital affairs. There are unhappiness in the society. People are not talking about this. People talk about a Muslim a man cannot have 4 wives. Oh, there are so many injustices in the society towards women. These are the questions which people do not raise. They run after Muslim men having 4 wives. Let me go to the next point. Right to inheritance of property, what the Quran mandates. And rather I would try to refer to some of the writings of Taslima Nasri. Islam gives women their due rights 1400s of years ago. Even in India, in the early 19th century, social reformers like Rajaram Mohan Rai, Nishant Chandra Vidyasagar and all, they were the social reformers. We know Sati, burning of Sati and all, no? We know. And then even Hindu women had no rights, property rights. But in 1400 years ago, what the Quran says, I was just quote here. Yusikumullahu fi awladikum lidhakari mislu hazzil unsayayn. It means that women have their due right from the property of the father. Okay? A girl has her right. And the Quran makes the right of the boy 0. Quran talks first about girl. لِلذَّكَرِ مِثْلُ حَظِّ الْأُنْثَيَيْنِ means a boy has to get what the girl gets 2 times of the girl. So the right of the girl comes first and then to the boy. And again, a woman after marriage, firstly she gets the property right from her father, parental property, right to inheritance. Then she gets a portion from her husband. Okay, so that it is now balanced, isn't it? It is now balanced. Then what is the injustice Islam does towards women? There is a misconception that Islam subjugates women. I will come later for veiling, for hijab, for parda, and all these things. These have their own reasons, their arguments. Let me go to parda and hijab. Parda or hijab is something which is extremely misunderstood in today's world. I will quote from the Holy Quran. Allah says, Hunna libasul lakum wa antum libasul lahunna. Women, it is actually addressed to a man. Hunna libasul lakum wa antum libasul lahunna. It means women are your clothes as you are to them. So now we have to understand clothes, garments, clothes. Clothes make us beautiful. It helps us to respect our own modesty, isn't it? If I'm not having any cloth, I will not be qualified to be among you, isn't it? If I'm without cloth. So cloth gives us modesty. It gives us honor. It helps us to be among the society. And also similarly, a cloth also can hide our deficiencies. It has another indication, another meaning. A cloth can hide, suppose if a man or a woman has some deficiency, it is human nature that we try to hide our deficiency through best clothes possible, isn't it? It hides our deficiencies. There is an indication that man should hide man and woman, not man only, man and woman should hide their own deficiencies. As our clothes hide our deficiencies. And also, we should not seek or look for any other's deficiency. Rather, we should hide it. Allah's one name is Ya Sattaru. Sattar means covering, hiding. We should not talk about others' deficiencies. Rather, we have to look at our own deficiencies. This is the teaching Islam gives. And hence we have come to know that what Islam says, that it treats man and woman equally. Now let me come to the question of hijab. Hijab or veiling of women, it is highly misunderstood. Western media and the other, interpreters of it, they misinterpret it. They misunderstand parda and hijab. They say that it is a subjugation of women. If a man, if a woman covers her head, she wears a decent dress, this is the subjugation of women. A veil or a burqa is not a subjugation of it. It does not really symbolize women's subjugation. Rather, it gives one honor, dignity. I just talked a few moments back with a friend of mine who came from Palestine, who has come from Palestine. He told me that a guard asked him once, a friend of his, that you see in Islam mandates that women have to cover their body and this, that. Why it is so? Then she said to him that you see, I'm smart, I'm wearing t-shirt and this, that, and then exposing the body and this, that, my beauty is, I look smarter. Then my friend said that he took out from his pocket 2 toffees. One is covered, one is uncovered. Then he threw towards her the uncovered toffee. On the ground. And then he took out another toffee which is covered. Then asked her, which one will you choose? The uncovered one or the covered one? The girl said, I will choose the covered toffee, not the uncovered one. It's the same thing. Our dress gives the symbol of our modesty. Then, my argument here is that hijab is very misunderstood. Quran first talks about hijab for man. Hijab doesn't mean only the dressings. Wearing the veil or the burqa or it is. Hijab means what? Guarding. To guard our thinking, guard our eyes. A man or a woman, if she wears a veil or a burqa or it is, and if something wrongs in her mind, hijab has no meaning. We have to beautify our heart. It's the heart which matters most. So that's why Quran says, mandates hijab for men first and then to the women. And there is a misunderstanding and misconception that Quran and Islam subjugates women and put under the veil. I will come to the argument with one writer from the subcontinent who lived during British India and died during British India. You might have heard about that, Begum Rukia Shakawat Hussain. She was popularly known as Begum Rukia, so I will talk a little bit about her regarding this. So Quran first addresses to men about hijab, about guarding our eyes, our looks. A man can have an evil mind, evil intentions. isn't it? So that Quran mandates first for the men and then for the women. Quran says, first addresses men, not women. Men about hijab says, I quote, say to the believing men that they should lower their gaze, not to look at women. Lower their gaze and guard their modesty. So hijab means guarding of one's own modesty. Not only wearing of dress only and veils and burqas and all. Guarding of one's own modesty. That will make for greater purity for them, and Allah is well acquainted with all they do. It is from Surah Nur, part 24, verse number 30. So this verse from the Quran, it indicates that a man when comes across a woman, unknown woman, or not the mehram. Mehram means sacred relations. One can meet them, no? So that a man when comes across a woman should lower his gaze. He should purify his thoughts. This is the heart which matters.